Hi class, I wanted to do a little clip on a very simple version of a Punnett square, which is just a device that allows you to visualize how gametes are combining with other gametes to give you your offspring. Okay, so what the gametes are either the possibilities of the eggs and the possibilities of the sperms that are carrying chromosomes and alleles of genes in those chromosomes, so you can get your haploid combined gametes into the next generation of zygotes, which will now have the normal number of chromosomes, which would be your diploid. And so each one of these gametes is carrying one allele, one possible allele of the possible allele types that the parents had. So assuming that the father was heterozygous for a specific gene, he would be carrying a dominant allele on one sperm and then a recessive allele on the other sperm. And assuming also that the mom was heterozygous for the same trait, then she would have the dominant allele on one egg and a recessive allele on the other egg. Now remember, I'm just drawing the allele symbol. I'm not drawing the full chromosome just to have less things to draw. Okay. Now, because now we know what alleles are being carried by which chromosome, by which gamete, then we can then populate the Punnett square with those alleles. I'm going to start with the ones from dad, so I'm just going to put the dominant allele, and usually the dominant allele goes on the left, so I'm going to put the recessive allele that's coming from dad on the right, and then I'm going to bring down the alleles that are coming from mom right to the right of that, and we're going to populate the rest of the Punnett square. So what you get in the Punnett square is all possible combinations of the alleles coming from both mom and from both dad at the same time. And so it tells you two things. Tells you the genetic makeup of each of these zygotes, so each of the offspring, and it also tells you the possible phenotype of the offspring if you know the inheritance pattern of this gene. So for example, the genotype for the first zygote is going to be homozygous dominant. The genotype for this last zygote down here is going to be homozygous recessive, okay? And that's simply because of the composition of the alleles that it has. Both of the zygotes in the middle are going to be heterozygous, okay? Now, you don't know what they look like yet. All you know right now is the genotype, okay? And the genotype just tells you what alleles each zygote has, okay? Now, when it comes to the phenotype, the physical manifestation of that trait, that can only be answered if you know the expression pattern or the inheritance pattern of these particular alleles for this trait, whatever trait the symbol A is representing, okay? So we knew that the parents were heterozygous, okay? We don't know what they look like either. We just knew their genetic composition, their genotype, okay? And so if this were to be, for example, a complete dominant trait, okay, a trait that had a complete dominant expression pattern, then any zygote that has at least one dominant allele will look like the dominant trait, okay? So all of these will look like the dominant version of that trait, and only this recessive zygote, so 25% of the offspring, of that 1 out of 4, would look like the recessive, physically, the recessive version of that gene, okay? And this is for the simplest version of expression pattern, which is the complete dominance pattern, all right? And I'll do videos for the other expression patterns as well.